So, needless to say, just really pleased with the effort of our entire football team today. It was really, a good team win for us, and it starts with the effort, focus, and effort. And a week ago, I wasn't so sure where we were at, but guys had a really good week. They came in Monday morning, focused, ready to roll, and put a good weekend on working on Indiana. And I think just in a nutshell, two things that stand out in my mind. You got it was a combination. Our older guys did what we need them to do. They really played good football and led our football team. And then the other aspect, just really pleased with the young guys. And I don't mind telling you, they between number 3 and then the youth of our guys up front are inexperienced. So those things were kind of keeping me up at night a little bit. So just, anxious to see the film, see how they look technically. But, from the sideline, looked like we held our own, at least up front on both sides, and gave us a chance to play good football. And then, I can't say enough about the big plays. Obviously, Riley Moss and a couple interceptions. Belton with that interception in front of our bench was a big play and just really well done. Goodson, popping that run, that was outstanding. So all that was good. And then last but not least, just, great to be back in Kinnick and great to have fans, live energy, and boy, I'll tell you, we were all feeling it down there. So just even coming in today, night and day different from last year. It was probably the weirdest thing, like a science fiction movie going into West Lafayette, and not seeing people out there. So to see people just out moving around, enjoying life a little bit, and having them in the stadium is fantastic. So we're appreciative of that, and I'll open it up for questions.
Coach, what can you say about the state of your defense today, holding Indiana to its lowest point total since 2013?
I don't want to say I'm surprised, but I just obviously very pleased, and a lot of respect for them. Their whole football team, all 3 phases. But I'll tell you, they're a big play outfit. And they've made some big plays, explosive plays between the quarterback and number 3. Those 2 guys are really dynamic, and so for us to do that, to play that way against them, and our DBs really look quick to the football and good anticipation. We're veteran back there, so I'm not going to say we expected that, but that really helps us if our veterans play like that. But a big part of it, too, is the guys up front getting pressure. It's not always about sacks, but if you can keep a quarterback a little bit uncomfortable, that factors in, too. So it seemed like we were playing pretty cohesively.
They seem to fit what you guys want to do defensively. I mean, they're a big play outfit. They're not really a high-percentage passing team, but still to do this effort against a team like this, what would you think of the way, Phil called the game, called his defense, and then put him in position, and then, of course, Riley and everybody else being able to execute?
Obviously, not a lot to complain about. They hit that one, flag right in front of their bench there. I think it was in the first half. And then hit 3, somewhere in the third quarter, whatever it was, those 2 plays. Those are the things you worry about, just giving up those chunk plays, and they're pretty good at that and hitting those. If you go back and look at them last year, they had a lot of luck with that. So for us to play good defense, that's something we're always trying to minimize, make people work, drive the ball and work it a little bit. But that doesn't work either if we're not, playing good run defense and also getting a little pressure on the quarterback.
What went into the game plan defensively to eliminate this air raid offense?
Just, it's good team defense, and I know it sounds really mundane, but it really is, and that's how we play. If we can get a spark play, and picks are a spark play, obviously, but you're not banking on that. But when you get those, that's super. Getting a sack is a great thing, but again, it's not always about that. But just trying to play with some tempo and making the other team a little bit uneasy. And I think our guys did that. Phil, the defensive staff, do a good job. They do a really good job, and combination of all those things gives you a chance. But it gets down to, again, not giving up those easy plays, big plays, and because they're really demoralizing.
In a lot of ways, this game started like last year's home opener against Northwestern. You guys get up a couple scores early, and then the game starts to normalize a little bit, and this time you guys continue to pull away, continue to shut them down. Spencer was saying at halftime, the guys were talking, look, hey, we know what can happen. We saw Indiana do something like that against Ohio State last year. How do you feel like this team has evolved from that point last season?
First of all, about Indiana, they were really impressive last season. There's no question about that, and they're good in all areas. They're well coached. But the thing that stood out to me, the 2 games they lost, they were down decidedly against Ohio State, and then they pulled it right back to a score. And the same thing in the bowl game as 2020, after being down 20-6, I believe. So that tells you a little bit about a team's personality. And then you factor in, we haven't always been the fastest starting outfit in the third quarter. So, we just remind the guys that, this thing's far from over. And then you factor in their big play capability. So it's, it's hard to relax. It's really hard to relax on Saturdays. I got to tell you that.
What do you think it's about this team that they responded that they took care of that business?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a good positive step for sure. And yeah, we're just happy now. We got to try to keep building on that.
In the opening statement, something about a week ago you felt a little maybe unsure what happened there. What did you see this week that?
As you remember, it was really hot last year and last week, excuse me, and really humid. We had a little bug going around in our building. I think the whole campus, and that was affecting some guys. And just when your numbers go down a little bit, and probably couldn't practice as hard or as much as we wanted to at the end of last week. So. I mean, what do we do, right? We find ways to worry about things, and there was plenty of ammo right there. So Saturday, it's kind of like that. But it was hard to enjoy some time off, which we all took. But like I said, when they came in Monday, they practiced really well this week and prepared well. Obviously, did their work away from the building. So really pleased and happy for what the guys did.
Spencer runs it in, and then rebounds down. What are your thoughts on that play?
Well, it's one of those plays. If you get the right coverage, then you got a chance to execute it, and then you got to execute it too. And to his credit, he's not renowned to being a runner, college football running quarterback, but he showed good poise. He didn't rush it and let it develop, and then the guys did a good job blocking.
Did you kind of get tight a little bit with Leonard?
No. I mean, well, yeah, that part, yeah, absolutely. But it's going to take a lot to keep him up. That's for sure. I can attest to that.
A few of your players talked about your famous 24-hour rule, and I guess that's a rule in a lot of places. But do you and your coaches have a similar rule, or I mean, with what you're facing, next week, you know what you're facing. You go right into it tonight?
I don't. Me personally, no, and I don't recommend it. And to that point, I mean, last week we walked out of here. I think most of the coaches were out 1 or 2, and we were off last Sunday. The staff was not. You guys are in and out doing what they got to do to be ready Monday. But I think one thing I've learned is you got to rest hard and work hard. And the other thing I've learned too is that wins are really hard to come by. So I encourage our guys to enjoy this today smartly, but enjoy it. And tomorrow we'll look at the film and try to learn from it, and then we'll move on. And that's one thing about the morning practice schedule. It's forced us to move a little quicker. It used to be we'd start out Tuesday afternoons, 3 o'clock, prior to 15. And so you talk about a 24-hour rule, but we didn't put it in effect. So, yeah, tomorrow we'll have plenty of time to get on the next game and really start to work on it and, see what we can do. And we got a lot of work to do, both in terms of the opponent, but then also us getting better at some things. But I really these games are hard to win, so you want to enjoy it.
Kirk, I think you said earlier this week that was a night and day difference for Spencer Petras going into the game. Now that you have some, not film and there's some in-season reps to look at, how did you feel like he performed just as opposed to last year? Where did you see him take steps as opposed to his first?
Yeah, I thought he did a good job and did a good job protecting the football, and it starts there. We had 2 fumbles today, right, and that's not good. But Ivory's been out for a while, so I think that's probably part of it, and we're pretty careful about tackling experienced guys in practice during scrimmages. We don't tackle a lot live anyway, so I guess you got to live with that. We had 2 last year on our opener too, but I think Spencer just has he's got more confidence now. He's played, and you can't give that. You can't hand it to anybody or give it to him. They've got to earn that. So he's played through the highs and lows, and we'll have more ahead. He's got a tough job, and he plays a really tough position, but you just see the growth and you feel it. So I think all of us have confidence in him and go with there. One thing I was pleased with too is our penalty situation. We had 2 today, and that's in stark contrast to the opener a year ago. And one of them, I can't find fault in that one at all. It was just aggressive play, and it was a bang play. And I understand why the official had to call it, but hard to get mad on that one for sure.
Coaches are notorious warriors, and you're probably at the top of the list on that one. And then you look at and you look at what with your offensive line situation, kind of moving guys in and around, and then Indiana, the way that they move guys in and out. I mean, how did you feel that they protected, and did it meet your expectation?
We had that one sack, I think it was right before the half, right down on our right, where the guy came off on a game late. But just like I say, you got to see the film to really know the intricacies. But we didn't fold it. It didn't look like we were on the retreat or anything like that. And I thought the guys seemed unaffected by plan. And that's one of the things I worry about, or all of us worry about. especially young guys. And then, so I thought, overall from the sideline, these guys do some things, our opponent does, they do some things that are really tough to handle. So some of the dead plays were just, good calls on their part, and, they got us, and sometimes you get them. But I thought it seemed like nobody seemed like they were out of place. They just seemed like they were doing okay. And then flipping it around, just got off the radio saying one of my Kodak moments etched in my mind was Y.A. Black at Penn State last year. He was in there in the fourth quarter, I think it was, and he's rushing over their left tackle, and he looked like one of those cartoon characters. His feet were going, and the guy was just basically had one hand. And I'm like, get away. And I told him the next day, I said, it's okay if you're aggressive. Like, if you try to, don't be reverent and try to be aggressive. But I didn't see that out there today, especially with our defensive guys. And a lot of those guys haven't played much. We got our veteran guys who we're counting on, and then the next wave. Those guys haven't been out there a lot. But they seemed like they did some good things, so that's encouraging.
Talk about the youth. I mean, the sustained effort. I mean, holding Indiana to 6 points for an entire 60 minutes and the way they played. I mean,
really hard to complain about that, and that we got a chance in every game. If we'd really have to screw it up, right, if we can't win with 6 points, although it's been done. But that's a really good starting point if you can keep people out of the end zone. And even the one time, they got down there, we forced them to kick the field goal, and that's part of good defense too. They kind of had us on the run, a little momentum, but we dug in and forced them to kick a field goal. And so those are things that we'll point out in tape that this is going to help us during the season if we just understand how important those situations are.
Seems like kind of a big deal. You started a freshman left tackle, and it seemed like you rode in most of the game. Might have been a few snaps that Plum played, but what led you to Mason Richmond being your starting left tackle?
Pretty much how he practices, and it's been good competition with all three guys that right now are playing the tackle slot, and Colby would be the next guy. They've all three of them improved a lot over the last spring ball and then this period here. But I tell you, Mason's a guy who's very coachable, and then he it's one thing to hear what a guy's being coached to do, but then he goes out and really tries to execute it. And then the other thing that impressed me during camp for sure was if he had a rough day and Van Valkenburg gave him some fits, he would come back the next day and take the challenge. Like he didn't go into a retreat. So again, you never know what's going to happen on game day. It's a long season, but at least this is a positive step. He's got to feel better about himself right now.
Kirk, you've been around Ryan Moss for many years. What characterizes him as a competitor?
Riley? He's kind of been that way. It's funny, when we recruited him, it wasn't like, we weren't on him as a sophomore or freshman. And it was a little bit later in the process, and but he kept impressing us, and then since he's been here, he's done nothing but impress us. And he's if you get his personality, he's a little bit loose and light and all that kind of stuff. He's a lighthearted guy that way, but he competes hard out there, and he's got some good skills and good ability, but he really competes hard and he's got a lot of pride in what he does. And so I think he's grown a lot, and so is Matt Hankins. I'd say the same thing about Matt on the other side. So it's pretty good. And then Terry Roberts is, I don't know, I'm going to say closing that gap, but he's really gaining ground too. So I think we've got some guys that have taken steps forward.
What do you think of Shudak's performance today? Specifically the field goal right before halftime, when you got those 3 timeouts there, he's got to sit through that and then still makes it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how that affected him. He got a couple practice shots in. I guess that'd be good from my vantage point. But he does such a good job on kickoffs. Like he almost take that for granted. And then I've said, we've considered him to be a starter. I was just, I think all of us have a lot of confidence in him. Kind of like Mason Richmond, but different. He's an older guy who just practices so well. And the facts are sometimes you got 2 guys that are really good, and Keith Duncan was really good. So it wasn't like, he was beaten out by somebody, just did somebody maybe a little bit better. But it gave us total confidence whenever he got his chance. Even last year, if he had been called upon, he would have answered it. And first-class guy. I mean, just, smart as could be and serious and works at it. And when you see guys doing that day after day after day, that you feel, you can never predict, but you feel like, hey, when they get out there, they're going to do pretty well with their opportunity. And there's no question. I think all of us feel that way about Caleb. He's earned that. Okay, thank you. See you Thursday.